ReefDudes is sponsored by Ecotech Marine and Bulk Reef Supply. Today we're talking about how to prepare your tank for evacuation. What's going on, guys? Devin from ReefDudes. So right now my town is currently on fire, or at least a good chunk of it is. The other day it was like crazy flames all over the horizon. Then the last couple of days the world's sepio now is completely socked in with smoke. I have lots of friends with reef tanks who have already been evacuated. Lots are on evacuation alert. I have tons of people reaching out to me with questions. It's even possible that I might end up getting evacuated depending how the winds blow. So there's one big topic, for me and some of my local friends is like, what do you do to prepare your tank if you have to evacuate? How do you make sure your tank can survive without you for an extended period of time? So today, a few things that I want to dig into. Now, one of the first ones, the first question I got was, how long can fish go without food? So ideally, if you have a chance, you want to look at putting an auto feeder on your tank. Like I have an Apex one I'll probably hook up, and I'm pretty sure I have like a cheaper Eheim one that works pretty well. Again, throw it on the other tank. Now, realistically, if you're gone for a week, the fish are going to survive without you about food. If you think when they're being imported and shipped, they're going to go for a few days, potentially a week without food. So they can certainly survive that. It's not the end of the world, but ideally you want to, have an auto feeder if possible. Now, the next big thing is your auto top off. Most people's auto top offs last a week. If possible, find yourself a bigger bin. If you use a 5-gallon one, see if you can find like a 15 or 20-gallon or brute container. Make sure you have a big bin set up so your auto top off, your Slindy, everything's going to stay in check. Now with that, one example story, when I went away in the past, I had a buddy that had a 35 or 50, whatever it was, gallon brute container, and he set it up, but he didn't have a siphon break on it. And the whole thing siphoned into his sump. And it was literally within a couple millimeters from overflowing his sump. And that happened because there's no siphon break. So if you are setting up a container that's taller than your sump, make sure you have a siphon break in it. Pro tip on that one. The next big thing is with all of your dosing, make sure all your dosing containers are filled. If you have a calcium reactor, make sure you got lots of CO2. If you use kelp, that one's a little trickier, but make sure it's freshly topped off before you leave. If you got the dosing containers, again, make sure all those are filled up so you don't have to worry about stuff running out while you're gone and your corals being starved for elk and certain nutrients. Same with your skimmers. Make sure all your skimmer cups are empty. Make sure there's lots of extra capacity in it. The nice thing is, if you have an aquarium controller, you're able to remotely turn stuff on and off and monitor it. Speaking of monitoring, I don't have one, but a lot of people have tank cameras, and especially if you have a controller. It's nice to be able to check on things, and if something's off, you can remotely tweak it on and off. Now, another big consideration, there's been lots of people around the area that have lost power, and they've been out of power for quite a while. Thankfully, I'm still good, but power outages during fires are a real thing, right? If the telephone pole burns, there goes your power with it. So make sure you have a battery backup option. Make sure you have something that can run at the very minimum flow. So again, I have one for my MP60s, and I'm going to pop another battery on the one in the office and just make sure that if we are without power for a while, at the very least you have those power heads rolling so there's still flow in the tank. Because no flow, stuff's going to go downhill fairly quickly. If you still have the power heads running, it's going to save you. So some big considerations. Now with your skimmer, ideally if you can drain your skimmer into a secondary container, you're not going to have to worry about your skimmer cup filling while you're gone. So that would be a big one. That would give you a big peace of mind. Again, you can always turn off your skimmer if you have to. Especially if you have a controller, you can turn off remotely after a week or two if required. But one of the biggest things on my mind, battery backup for your power heads. Make sure your tank is with flow. There's been hundreds of people around here without power locally, and I think there's a couple thousands across the bridge without power. So battery backup for flow, very, very important. That's going to be one thing that can save your tank. If you don't have flow in your tank, things will go downhill quickly. Make sure you oversize your auto top off container. Again, if you're going to be gone potentially for a couple weeks, you want to make sure that your salinity is staying in check. Your pumps aren't running dry, your salinity's not going sky high. Then again, next is make sure your corals are happy. Make sure you have, refill all your dosing containers. Make sure everything's happy on that front. And ideally have an auto feeder for your fish. So those are the main things I would look at in kind of preparation for potential evacuation. I know down on the west coast, more south, there's stuff with potentially hurricanes. Where I am, there's fires everywhere. So either way, it could be something that's gonna make you evict and leave your tank behind. So you wanna keep it safe. All right, guys, to all my local people, stay safe out there, my West Coasters. Survive those hurricanes. Hopefully these tips helped you guys and kind of help keep some peace and sanity during all the chaos of the world lately. Again, if this helped you, hit that like button. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. If you have friends in these crazy situations, be sure to share this video, and I'll catch you guys on the next week's video.